So with season animated, that's SEA numeral 3 ON, animated, or Team SEA numeral 3 ON, currently working on trying to bring basically the lost season of Sonic SatAM to animated life. I mean, basically they began doing it with the webcomic, taking a lot of the ideas that Ben Hurst, God rest his soul, wanted to integrate into the third season, if not one of the movies he wanted to work on to kind of conclude Sonic SatAM. And they basically incorporated it, integrated it into a webcomic, which they are now trying to incorporate, if not integrate, into an animated series, at least an animated conclusion of some kind. Now, basically, one of the biggest questions I think anybody obviously has is, when you look back in 1994, and I've talked about this before, with Fox kind of like on a roll at the time with the likes of Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, Power Rangers, you name it. The obvious question a lot of fans have is, why didn't ABC, who was broadcasting Sonic SatAM, do the same thing with some of the shows they had? I mean, the momentum that they could have garnered, from doing something similar, would have helped them out immensely. I mean, we've seen CBS kind of take advantage of the popularity of some of their Saturday morning programs and put them in prime time with special episodes. But the question obviously is, why didn't ABC do that with the likes of, let's say, Sonic SatAM, or even shows that came before it, like, the brief showing of SWAT Cats or a Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa? Why didn't they do that? And, to me, honestly, when I look at the fact that you have all these other networks, two out of at the time, and you got to remember this was after NBC decided to become more news oriented and more TNBC, T-NBC, Teen NBC oriented as well, that we only had basically three major outlets on Saturday mornings, that from a broadcast standpoint, that being CBS, Fox, and ABC. So when you look at CBS and mostly what Fox was doing at times with some of the most popular shows, and you wonder why ABC didn't do that as much, if at all, you got to ask yourself, did ABC drop the ball, or did they miss out on an opportunity? Because when I look at Sonic SatAM, more so than any of the other shows they had, I look at an opportunity that was missed not once, but twice, if not several times. One of the times, and this mostly goes around with the second season, one of the times, in my opinion, was basically Blast of the Past. This was a two-part story that, in my opinion, ABC could have put in primetime as a 1-hour special. CBS did something similar with Planet of the Totaloids with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was split up into 2 episodes when it went to regular broadcast on Saturday mornings, but when it was initially first seen, it was on primetime as a 1-hour special. So you have to wonder why, ABC, along with DIC Entertainment, who owned the distributing rights at the time, and Sega of America, didn't jump at the ball, or jump at the chance, I should say, and do the same thing with Sonic SatAM. Because I can guarantee you that, had they done something similar with Sonic SatAM, and mostly with Blast of the Past, maybe the night before the first part debuted, I think it would have helped give them a lot of momentum in the long run. Because when networks, from my opinion, my personal opinion, when networks would do this, they did it because they had confidence that that show was going to be a hit. And Sonic SatAM was a hit for ABC, despite what you might say about its run against Power Rangers at times. It was still a hit. It was a major success. It was still a ratings getter for the network. And to me, had ABC gone the route of putting Blast of the Past in prime time, maybe the day before part 1 of Blast of the Past came on its regular Saturday morning airing, to me it would have generated a lot of viewership and interest, probably more interest in the show than it's ever had. I mean, this is why basically Fox around the same year did something similar with Power Rangers and X-Men. I mean, I remember Fox advertising that they were going to have, back-to-back weeks of X-Men primetime specials, and these were both the out of the past two, in both these episodes, I should say, specials, if you will, special episodes, were basically out of the past part 1 and 2. The same with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the season 2 premiere. That was a 3-parter which introduced us to Lord Zed, and they did that because they knew that if they show it at night with a more brighter, wider audience watching, that it's going to get more fans, more kids, if not more families invested and intrigued by what the show has to offer. And the same thing is the same thing that CBS did with TMNT, with the Planet of the Toloroids. Even though TMNT was still a big deal, a huge hit, they knew to make it even a bigger hit or get more people invested in it. They went and decided to air that special, which later on became a 2-part miniseries on Saturday mornings. They decided to basically air it on prime time because they knew they were going to have a wider, more broader audience, if you will. And I do apologize if I'm stumbling a little bit on my words. I'm trying to think about what I'm going to say. This is what happens when you're unscripted and you just, go with what comes to mind, if you will, as you're recording. But, that's basically what all these networks did, or these 2 networks did. They saw the fact that during prime time they would have a wider scope of an audience, to tune in and watch these specials, these special primetime presentations with their kids. And to me, ABC had an opportunity to do that with a lot of the shows that were hits for them. Like if they would have done that with Wild West Cowboys and Moon Mesa, even if it was 1 or 2 episodes, that probably didn't have any connection whatsoever, it probably would have, gotten a lot more people invested to want to see more of the show, especially when you would consider how it connects later on, depending on the mythos, to TMNT. So to have people invested in that after watching, let's say, one half-hour primetime presentation of an episode on, let's say, a Friday, I think that would have been a win-win for them. Same with SWAT Cats, because ABC at one point did have SWAT Cats, and if they would have done the same with them, it would have been a win-win. There's no doubt about this, or no doubt about that. But they didn't do it. And the same, like I said, could be said for Sonic the Hedgehog and Blast of the Past Part 1 and 2. I mean, here was an opportunity to, to me, really kind of take it up a notch and prove that your product, your shows were better by, instead of, going the route that Fox did with X-Men and Power Rangers, and that's just go week by week on prime time during the summer to give families and kids sneak peeks of what was to come. What they could have done is basically do what CBS did, and that's take the 2-part episode, put it together as a 1-hour special, and it would have probably gained a lot of views. It would have probably generated, a lot of interest in the series, more so than ever, that even with the change in ownership behind the scenes, that would have probably helped save Sonic SatAM from being, removed from the schedule. The same could be said, as I've talked about several times over, with the final 4 episodes, which I consider the Doomsday Project saga. I mean, right now, you can't tell me that Wildbrain, who owns the rights to the distributing rights, that is, to Sonic SatAM, hasn't heard what people like me have had to say, hasn't seen what people like me have done, and basically considered that, hey, this does kind of feel like it belongs to, that these 4 episodes, I should say, belong together as a movie, or they connect together as a full-length film without any, title interludes, if you will, except for the beginning. And I believe, had ABC gone that route, if you will, and took all the 4 episodes and either, did what I've done and put them together as a 2-hour, hour and a half primetime special on TGIF Friday nights, especially during the holiday season. Again, I honestly think, in my opinion, it would have really, given the show more of a chance to, be kept on television. Maybe even give it a chance to be, I guess you can say, shopped around to other networks. Like, I've always believed, in my opinion, that had they done that, there's a good chance we could have probably saw it on CBS Action Zone's block along with TMNT. I mean, imagine that. You go from having Skeleton Warriors, Wildcats, and TMNT to just TMNT, but imagine what would have happened if, Sonic SatAM was shopped around, sent over to CBS to be part of the Action Zone, 3rd season included. Imagine that. You would have had, that CGI logo going, entering the Action Zone, scanning for Sonic the Hedgehog, locked, access now, and then you get the beginning of Sonic as you normally know it. Whether it's the 3rd season or the previous seasons, imagine how big of an animated hour or viewed hour of animation that would have been for CBS as a whole and for both those programs back to back. But, it never had that opportunity because ABC didn't take the chance. They didn't even take the chance to basically broadcast all the episodes, in prime time. Like, they could have showed the episodes in the day or in the morning the next day. What I'm trying to say is they could have still shown the episodes during Saturday morning the next day as originally scheduled, but they could have also showed those episodes the night prior as special half-hour presentations week by week, knowing that on that TGIF block that even at that time was still a very popular 2-hour sitcom block which families tuned in to watch by the millions, that they would have had a bigger, broader audience to showcase these episodes to. And then that, in my opinion, as I said earlier, probably could have helped the show remain, on the air. Either it would have stayed on ABC or, like I said, been shopped around to places like CBS or Fox. But again, they didn't consider doing that. And all because of the fact that to them, Power Rangers was kicking the living crap out of SatAM. And truth be told, from what I've understood, that wasn't entirely Sonic SatAM's fault, because it seemed, again, this is from what I've heard, it seems they tried to put Sonic SatAM at a time where it wouldn't compete with Power Rangers, but Fox decided, okay, you want to put Sonic at that time? We're going to put Power Rangers at that time too. It just didn't help. It just didn't really help, in the long run for the series. Now, I understand people might say, well, you also had college football, which led to preemptions and all that. And yeah, that's true. It did. It did lead to preemptions. But there was some, if not a majority of ABC networks, that after some of the college football games were done, they would broadcast the Saturday morning cartoons later on in the afternoon to make up for what was, pushed out of the original time slot because of college football. They would do that, and that's the truth. But again, despite, those two things being, legitimate reasons as to why ABC, and DIC Entertainment didn't want to continue the show, well, mostly ABC, despite those being legitimate reasons, I think what could have helped overcome those reasons in some way is if ABC would have gone the route that CBS and, Fox did with their shows around that time frame. Because, again, when you really think about it, you have a broader audience, in prime time, and you're broadcasting these episodes in a time slot, in a primetime block, which millions of viewers watch every week, on a Friday. So think about that. You could have done Blast of the Past for an hour, and then you could have had Family Matters and Hanging with Mr. Cooper. That's a 1-2 punch if I ever heard one, if you know what I mean. Or you could have had, weekly, one episode for the Doomsday Saga aired, at the beginning of TGIF's block, and then you could have had Full House, you could have had Family Matters, you could have had, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, stuff like that. And again, you talk about a 1-2, knockout punch, that would have done it. That to me is a recipe for, or would have been a recipe for success, but they didn't do it. Instead, when the show got shopped around, it got, basically its airing rights, its distributing rights, DIC Entertainment basically gave those to USA. They gave them to the USA Network to be part of the USA Action Extreme team. And basically, long story short, we know what happened there. And in case you don't, basically they edited the heck out of some of the episodes during that run, all because of time restraints. Yeah, you look online, because I remember doing this, you look online and there are some episodes, like the final episode, that are edited to the living heck for whatever reasons. Mostly, like I said, time restraints. But to me, that could have been avoided had, in my opinion, ABC done this and maybe allowed this, like I said, the show to be shopped around if they still didn't want to have it, to other broadcast networks, like let's say CBS or Fox. And I think honestly, even though they probably would have done good on Fox, be on the same network with the show that was pretty much pounding them into the ground, according to some people, legitimate reasons that is too, I think they would have done way better on CBS. I really do. Even if it was for one season, they would have done good, because even with reruns afterwards, people would have still tuned in, and you would have had a great hour of animation, in my opinion, with them back to back with TMNT, especially the new Red Sky versions of TMNT. But again, it just never happened, and it's a shame that, like I said, ABC never took advantage of that. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the fact that ABC could have, along with DIC Entertainment, could have salvaged Sonic SatAM by having the episodes, shown in prime time, either as a whole episode, like with Blast of the Past 1 and 2, as 1 hour special, like CBS did with TMNT's Planet of the Tellurids, or do you think it could have also helped if, like, the final 4 episodes of the show were aired weekly, like Fox was doing with Power Rangers and X-Men during that time frame, or during that same year before those shows officially had their season premieres? Do you think that would have helped? Or as well as, do you think maybe a special broadcast of all 4 episodes, put together as somewhat like a movie would have helped as well? Keep it around. You either keep it around on ABC or shopped it around, or help it get shopped around successfully to places like CBS and Fox. What do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Again, I do apologize for, kind of stumbling in my words or rambling. This is what happens when you go unscripted and you just say things and you just say whatever comes to your mind, right off the bat. And I'm also a little tired. It is getting late, but again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments as well as the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, just drank some Pepsi to keep me going. But again, like I said, like the video, comment below, live chat, let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, and I am out. But again, give me your thoughts. What do you think on what I had to say here? And I am out.